America,
let it be said and let it be done.
America, watch this magic trick Brew is about to try to pull. Because he's the Brock Purdy guy.
I am.
Brew.
And I keep it real about
Brew, do you think it is clear-cut, undeniable that Brock Purdy is a top-tier quarterback?
I'm not going to steal your line about being Mr. Consistency. But you know, and you saw this yesterday, Danny, I have very strong views on who's a top-tier quarterback and what I need to see before I make you top-tier.
Right.
All right? And I said it with Trevor. I'm not saying Trevor can never get there. I just haven't seen enough yet to pay him like $275 million. C.J. Stroud, best rookie season ever. I loved him coming out of college. I thought he should have been a #1 pick. I still am like, I want to see one more year. You done it 1 year, it was great. I want to see one more year before I put you on top tier.
But one more year from C.J. you would?
Yes.
So why
because here's the deal. Because here's my top tier: Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, and Burrow. CJ is trying to get there, but I got to see more. Yeah. And Brock, I also, and I'm being dead serious. I'm not dancing, all right?
It sounds like I hear a little talk to.
Your pedigree.
Here we go.
Because with Trevor, let's be honest, his pedigree is why he's getting a little extra. If Trevor Lawrence was a 5th-round pick, he would not have gotten a $275 million. So my point is this, though. When your pedigree is not as strong, your resume, forget whether Mr. Irrelevant, but just, a low draft pick or something, wasn't a household name in college, I got to see a little more. I'm real. That's how I feel with Jalen Brunson. I got to see a little more. So I've got Purdy, and I'm surprised you went there because earlier, I'll see if you stay there, he's in the second tier. He's in the second tier.
Reasonable.
Herbert,
Was the second tier
Purdy,
like 10 names? Like thereabouts?
It's Herbert, Hurts, Purdy, Dak, Goff, Love, Stafford.
And Stroud.
And Stroud. Yeah, Stroud.
Okay, so it's 8 names is where you have
it. Would you agree, I don't know if you're taking Purdy out, but is anybody there not in that second tier?
Well,
you taking
Trevor,
out Hurts?
Obviously.
Well, I don't have Trevor on my page.
You didn't have Trevor there. And so
I don't have him yet in second tier.
There, but go ahead, Danny.
Yeah,
second tier, though,
that's the
you've come a long way.
No. I didn't say I would have him there. You said, was there anyone that you didn't list that I would have there? I did not say I would have him there, but I'm going to let Danny go, and then I will tell you where I'm at.
I think earlier in the show you had a top 6.
You did throw Purdy in there.
Hold on. All right. No. I'm not going to be misquoted. Earlier in the show, I gave a clear cut. There were 6 guys no one would argue about. Then I gave 10 names that Stafford, people would argue are somewhere from 7 to 16, and that different people would argue it. And I included Purdy in that because I'm on a show with someone who will argue it. And by the way, I think he's around 16. So that's where I had it. But it was a long, encompassing list. It was not a first tier, second tier, because we all know, by the way, the top tier is Mahomes. Then there's an empty tier. Then the rest of the league starts at third tier.
Of course, we do all know that. Listen, by definition, he's not top tier if we agree that that is a small tier at the top with Allen and Lamar and Mahomes and Burrow. So he's obviously not top tier. He led the league in QBR last year. It's unbelievably impressive what Brock Purdy has done from the pedigree and where he was drafted. And this maybe is unfair or it's unanswerable, but he does have the best skill position group in the league. He does have the best offensive coach in the league. Does anybody really think, Daniel Jeremiah and the great people over at Move the Sticks included, if Brock Purdy was in Buffalo and Josh Allen was in San Francisco, do people think that Josh Allen would produce less than Brock Purdy?
Of course not.
And does anyone think
Josh is a top-tier guy.
No, but they said that
throw somebody else in there.
No, but they said that Purdy is a top-tier guy. So I'm saying, does anyone think that if Brock Purdy was in Buffalo, he would have 44 combined touchdowns like Josh Allen?
Right, but that's
But
also
did anybody think, Nick?
No, but I will say, speaking with a lot of 49ers fans and a lot of Brock Purdy fans on this channel, specifically, they believe that Josh Allen would not be better with the 49ers. There's a lot of people that do not think, there's a lot of people that believe that Brock Purdy is a top quarterback in the NFL and that anything shy of maybe Patrick Mahomes, they would have the same amount of success that Brock Purdy has had with the 49ers. That he elevates that roster just as high as any other quarterback can, except for, again, maybe Patrick Mahomes. Whether that's right or wrong, I do know without a shadow of a doubt, absolutely undeniably, a ton of 49ers fans and specifically Brock Purdy fans believe that to be true.
He would step in and do what he's done in San Francisco.
No, which is why it's impressive, but I need to see him at some point in less than a perfect situation before I put him next to Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
We also saw him play his worst football of the year in the playoffs. We can show you that. It's not. He
got him to the Super Bowl.
It was so. Here's the thing on that. If we show you the regular season playoff numbers, it's stark. And I have heard for multiple times recently now, he played great in the Super Bowl. Guys, I watched it. No, he didn't. He didn't cost them the game. He didn't blow it. But we are
wasn't awesome.
But
he was good.
He was fine. I thought he was fine. I didn't think, but I think sometimes there's a weird thing where he is, even by his biggest supporters at times, graded on a curve, because even his biggest supporters kind of deep down don't fully believe, as evidenced by the fact
second tier. I believe second tier. And let's see what he does this year. He might move up to first tier.
Brew believes in him so much, I think he has him 13th of quarterbacks.
No. He's
I mean, listen, this is absurd to try to use his Super Bowl stats as some sort of way to bring him down, because one, this was his first year as a starter. Okay, so I don't know how many quarterbacks you think are just going to ball out. It's his first full year as a starter. I don't know how many quarterbacks you think are just going to ball out in a Super Bowl under those circumstances, number one. Number two, he went up against the best defense in the NFL. So against the best defense in the NFL, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, those numbers are not too bad, quite honestly. It's really not. Those are similar numbers. That's a similar trajectory that Patrick Mahomes did all season long with the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes' rating was like 92.6 or something, and he's 89.3, so kind of like right within range. So, I mean, I just don't know what you're expecting Brock Purdy to have to do in that position. And again, if we're saying, though, then if the argument against Brock Purdy is that it's his roster that makes him so great and makes the Kansas City Chiefs so great, or that makes the 49ers so great, well, then where was that roster? You know, like, why didn't they continue to ball out? Like, where was it then? I mean, I get it. Could Brock Purdy have played better in the Super Bowl? Sure. Patrick Mahomes could have played better in the Super Bowl as well. Lots of quarterbacks could play better in the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. I mean, did he throw for 7 touchdowns when he played the Rams? Like, no. So I just don't think that that's a fair enough argument to say this is why Brock Purdy is not a top-level quarterback. Now, in terms of if we want to get lost in the whole idea of top tier, you know, what's considered top tier, who's top tier, it's Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and then there's the tier below that. Listen, I do think that there's a group of quarterbacks that no matter where they are, their team will be competitive or be worthy to consider. Not saying that they're going to win, not saying that they're going to win all these Super Bowls or be as good as they are right now, but that they will be able to do something. They will be able to put their team in a position to win. And I do think that is where Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson separate themselves. And it's not even because some people will be like, well, how's Lamar Jackson up there, this, that, and third? Because it's we put quarterbacking into such this, like, even though it's evolved so much, we still put it in this like tiny little frame around it and say, like, a quarterback is only, what's their completion percentage? How many touchdowns they've thrown? You know, how many interceptions and their turnovers? And the reality is it's so much more than that. And I think it can be largely boiled down to, does your team have a fighting chance to win? Can your quarterback win you games despite a bad coach, despite a bad play caller, despite, less than ideal perfect situations? Can you put them on their back? And I think that's where we see Joe Burrow can do that. Patrick Mahomes can do that. Josh Allen can do that. And Lamar Jackson can do that. And again, if they were drafted by the Carolina Panthers, I don't think that Lamar Jackson would have 2 MVPs. And I don't think Patrick Mahomes would have 3 Super Bowls. I just don't. But I still think that those teams would be way better, way better with those quarterbacks. And I don't think that that can be denied, quite honestly. And I do think that the other quarterbacks, like the Jordan Loves and the CJ Strouds, which you guys know I'm super high on, they do. We need to give them like another year or two to truly prove who they are. And that's okay. That's not a knock on them. That's just the reality of the situation. That's the reality for every single quarterback out there. And so then the question is, well, where does that leave Brock Purdy? And that's why I do put Brock Purdy in that second tier. But it's also not a dig on Brock Purdy. Because to be very clear, not everyone in the NFL can do what Brock Purdy does. Okay? I don't think Dak Prescott, who many people think is a top quarterback, can do what Brock Purdy can do. Okay? Kirk Cousins can do what Brock Purdy can do. Like, I think there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that Brock Purdy has proven to be better, proven to not let the moment get the best of him. We say this all the time of how important it is to win playoff games, to step up, and this, that, and the third. And yet we have some of these quarterbacks that people say are really good, even Lamar Jackson for that matter, and yet they don't show up in the playoffs. The moment proves to be a little too big for them. And yet Brock Purdy specifically proved for that to not be the case. He did step up and win the game for the 49ers against the Packers and the Lions. Now, if you want to make the argument that he put them in a deficit or it was part of his play, right or wrong, but if you want to make the argument it was part of his play that put them behind, you could say that about a lot of quarterbacks. You could say that about even Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes notoriously had, for years, had not played real great in the first 3 quarters or the first half, and then the second half finally gets it going. So you can make that argument about a lot of quarterbacks, but yet people want to highlight that about Brock Purdy when he was successful against the Packers and against the Lions. So I think it's just not a fair shake. But listen, I get it, because when you have Kyle Shanahan and you have all these weapons, Ayuk, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Debo, I get it. But it just seems like people struggle. It sounds like, and Nick didn't say this because the clip was over, but it sounds like he doesn't even consider Brock Purdy to be a second-tier quarterback, that he thinks that he's even lower than that. And I just think that that's outrageous. It's just not fair. I think Brock Purdy would succeed with the 49ers, with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the Bengals, with the Bills, with the Texans, with the Packers. I think he would all have great success. Listen, would he be going to back-to-back AFC or NFC championship games? I don't know. But to act like he can't have success, that he's not someone who can have success, or that he's not a really, really good on his way to being a great or even an elite quarterback, it's just not a fair assessment, because he's proven so much already on the field. And this idea that if you have a great roster and a great coach, that you're just guaranteed to have success and you just need an okay quarterback and you'll just magically win games, it's just not accurate. It's just not accurate. Because if that was the case, why don't we see more backup quarterbacks ball out in those circumstances? Why didn't Trey Lance ball out? Can you win games? Yes. When you have a good roster and a great coach, yes. If you have an average quarterback, you can win games, but not at the level that Brock Purdy's doing. Not putting up the stats and the numbers that Brock Purdy's doing. People are acting like Brock Purdy, all he does is have to call a hike, and he just has to throw the ball real high in the air, and the 49ers players all just jump in the air and catch it and run around and do the rest. Right? They act like it's just like like an old school Madden, right? Like back in the early 90s where literally you just hit like A and then B, and like that's it. You hit A and then like it's like A, B, C or whatever, where it shows you like where the players are. Like that's all you have to do. That's all Brock Purdy has to do. Is just call a hike, and he just comes back and just goes boom, and then throws it. Like that's it. And it's just absurd to me. It's just absurd, and I don't think Brock Purdy gets a fair shake. But you know what? Listen, if you're a 49ers fan or a Brock Purdy fan, it's a good problem to have. It really is. I'd rather have that problem than anything else because it means your roster is great, your coach is great, your culture is great, and that your quarterback is really, really good to great, and that's awesome. So I'm really curious to see what Brock Purdy can do this season and to see if there's anything he can change. Because they keep saying, I want to see what a quarterback can do in a less than ideal situation. And I'm just like, Patrick Mahomes has not been in a less than ideal situation. They want to talk about his offense, but then he had the best defense in the NFL and still has Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. That is not a less than ideal situation to be in. Let's be real here, okay? So what does it take for a quarterback to be in a less than ideal situation? My argument would be Jalen Hurts, his first year as a starter, where he didn't have like an A.J. Brown yet, and Shane Steichen only called his plays for the second half of the season, and they went to the playoffs. That's succeeding in a less than ideal situation. Brock Purdy, coming back from an injury, that's a less than ideal situation. Coming in mid-season and succeeding, that's a less than ideal situation. So again, it's like, how are we defining less than ideal situation? Is it just like not having a great wide receiver, not a great offensive line? Like what is it? Because again, Patrick Mahomes didn't have a great offensive line the 1 year in the Super Bowl, and he got smoked. He failed. So does that mean he didn't succeed in, to get to the team, to at least get the team to the Super Bowl? Like, it's just, I'm just confused as to what the metrics are then for a less than ideal situation. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you consider Brock Purdy a top tier quarterback? Or do you think he's a second tier or third tier or even lower? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.